In this video, I want to explore some of the other reasons why you might not be able to lose weight easily. I think when people think of weight loss in this country and in other countries as well, we think of willpower, we think of going on a diet, we think of attending a diet class. And I want to explore some of the other factors that you might not necessarily correlate with weight loss, but I think are probably much more significant than some of the other factors. So I'm going to explore 5 of them today. The first one is sleep. We are at an epidemic of sleep issues. We are not getting enough sleep in this country and most Western countries nowadays. And there are 2 significant hormones that are impacted by this. So we've got leptin and ghrelin. Leptin is our satiating hormone and ghrelin is our hunger hormone. And what's shown is the less sleep you have, the more leptin gets suppressed and the more ghrelin gets upregulated. So that means that we are not as satiated and we are generally more hungry. It's been shown for every loss of hour of sleep on a night that the average person consumes an extra 200 calories in the next day. So that's quite significant in making sure you get enough rest and sleep. It's also the time that the body digests the food and goes through all those metabolic processes, so we really don't want to skip sleep. Second, stress. So most of us know that stress affects our eating, and it really massively affects our metabolism. And that's because when we are stressed, we are in this low grade fight or flight response within the body. It really affects our HPA axis within the body. And what does that mean? So that means that the most important thing is that we have those stress responses. So a classic example would be if you were running from a saber-toothed tiger, you would need to have adrenaline coursing through the body. You would want to have all of those hormones that would enable you to run, to have extreme strength. But the most important factor would not be your metabolism. You would not be needing to digest your food at that time. So what does that mean? That means that when we're going through stress for long periods of time, our metabolism is not functioning optimally. So that's number 2. Number 3 is toxins. So you might not necessarily factor this one in, but we are bombarded with toxic chemicals today. And if we don't find a way to safely exit those from the body, things like heavy metals, things like fire retardants, things like diesel fumes, we're kind of bombarded from lots of different angles. And the body's very, very clever. So it tries to keep our organs safe. So any of those toxins that are circulating through the bloodstream, it puts them into our adipose tissue. It puts them into our adipose cells. These are our fat cells for storage. So what this often means is that people who are overweight are storing too many toxins in the body. They haven't found a safe way to enable those to exit the body, and that means that they are storing too many fat cells. So we need to be very careful when we're losing weight that we keep those detox channels open through sweat, through our stools, through the liver and the kidneys, so that we can safely take those out of the body as well. The other one is the gut microbiome. Now, this is a real passion of mine, and I think it's really interesting that we have found that if we give the bacteria from thin mice to obese mice, it helps them to lose weight. So this really tells us that we have really a different microbiome of healthy bacteria in people who manage to maintain low weights. But it also means that we have a plasticity. So the more that we can sort of regulate our weight with a really healthy diet and feeding the good bacteria, we'll notice a change in our microbiome and we won't be craving necessarily a lot of different foods. So when we have things like E. coli infections, or we have parasites, for example, that we often see, they're going to be craving a lot of very different foods, and it's going to make our microbiome very, very different to a much healthier individual. And then finally, the 5th reason that you might not be losing weight is historical trauma or PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And these are emotions that our body doesn't necessarily know how to relieve safely. It might be really back in our history, in our childhood, or it might even be handed down to us from a parent or a loved one, and we're holding that in the body. And because we're not able to find a safe way, a safe space to feel into those emotions, more often than not, we use food as a drug of choice. It becomes like any other drug, like drugs or alcohol or cigarettes, and we use it for an instant feeling of pleasure rather than feeling that uncomfortable emotion. So this is a very, very common statistic that we see today, and I would really encourage you to go see a therapist or a practitioner or somebody who can help you work through those emotions in a really safe way. So I hope that's given you some idea of different things that you can explore. I'm launching a new course. It's a course that I've run many, many times previously. It's a 7-week course called Eating for Health and Happiness. So you can find the link down below, and don't forget to subscribe for weekly YouTube clips. And I will be back next week. Thanks for listening, everyone.